Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So my name is Ridhwan Syameem Hairuzaman from CS255A.
Okay, Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Hazraf bin Hazwan.
My name is Muhammad Aiman Hakim bin Zulkafli, Part 5 from Bachelor of Computer Science, Computer Networks.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Fadhil bin Abdullah.
So today in this evening I want to share about my group project that is about public bank vulnerabilities. So I will be explaining about chapter 1 and the chapter 2 for the introduction and the literature review. Okay, we're going for chapter 1. That is the introduction. It includes as follows. First is project background, come with problem statement, objectives, and significance. So for the project background, we choose public bank as the subject main priority to observe the vulnerabilities and possible attacks. So here is some of the project background. Cybersecurity is the process of defending against online threats through internet connected system such as hardware, software, and data. Individuals and businesses use the practice to guard against unauthorized access to data center and other computerized systems. With an expanding device environment in the modern organization, where with the increased deluge of data, most of which is sensitive or secret. The need of cybersecurity continues to grow. The increased volume and skill of cyber attackers and attack strategies complicated the problem even further. Then we move to the problem statement. So, due to the increasing number of people that are still growing across time, public bank need to grow their security management into more flexible and efficient to cope with the potential and new threats as the global technology levels start evolving. So there are multiple potential attacks that will harm the organization and might fight with clients or surrounding people. Move to the objective of this project and also the significance. First, the objective is to provide the detailed information on how the attack and vulnerabilities work. Second is to provide the effect of the successful attacks to the public bank. The significance of the project is to aim for this project is to providing information and exposing the detail overview about the potential attacks and vulnerabilities towards the public bank and what can possibly happen if the attack on the vulnerabilities is successful. So moving on to the chapter 2, which is the literature review. It includes some information about the public bank, security policies, and general attacks on banks. So first, we go to the public bank. Public bank was founded in 1996 by Tan Sri Datuk. It's not 1996, 1966. Sorry, but by Tan Sri Datuk Sri Dr. Teh Ong Piao. Public Bank started its first branch on August 6, 1966, and it is located at Jalan Gereja, Kuala Lumpur. Next is Public Bank has expanded its businesses on banking service in Malaysia. Also, through involving in banking service on other countries such as Hong Kong, China, Cambodia, Vietnam, Laos, and Sri Lanka. With their proper and stable business model, Public Bank has secured a track record of ever profitable business for astonishingly 54 years. So, Public Bank itself is highly reputable and popular among other banks such as Maybank, SIB Bank, ICT Bank across Malaysia. Next is security policies. First is the implement of privacy policies in the website page that allow user to conducting money transaction. They can allow any of the crucial information about their business and whom using their business be spread throughout the world. Second is the insider threats, which is the coming threat inside of the organization community itself. The way of too trusting staff inside the company is not the most ideal way to run big business, especially for banking service. Lastly is the physical threat. The threat comes from the ATM itself. The ATM is used to let the customer or people to making money transactions such as deposit and withdrawal. And lastly, the general attacks on public banking. So first is social engineering attacks, often referred as SIM jacking, have grown in popularity. The attackers identify the phone numbers of bank customers whose accounts they have compromised in these operations. Next is an ATS engines. It is tools to attack on most of the bank. Allow a web injection script. You can do this as a phishing attack also known as inject, uh, to ultimately begin fund transfer and overcome notification procedures. Next and lastly is techniques of watering holes are often applied as well. Exploit code is planted on compromised websites that are often visited by employees of the targeted organization. So next part, we will continue by reference. So thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the methodology. So for the methodology for the top 10 OAuths, I have choose the software vulnerabilities uh, for this public bank Berhad. So let's see what is in the methodology. The first methodology. First of all, what is software or application vulnerabilities? So it is a flaw that is defect or a defect that is in the software itself, where it is the software is not on its 100% condition in terms of its security, and by this the hacker or the attacker could take advantage of this kind of problem and penetrate the software that have a defect or a flaw. So the flaw of the system may be because of how the application or the software is built. Maybe there is a bug or some kind of flaw that they don't check. So let's see what kind of problem that public bank face. So for the attack, how the attack happened. So the attack happened through a mobile application where the hacker used a software vulnerability tools to scan for vulnerabilities in the application. So these tools can help the hacker to recognize the potential vulnerabilities that he can exploit to gain access in the application. So the hacker is trying to exploit the application in the public bank Berhad customer's smartphone. So he worked his way through by exploiting the vulnerabilities that he can find using the tools. So PB Engage My is the name of the application for public bank Berhad that they release in the application store. So by having this tool, by exploiting the vulnerabilities, he easily penetrate the application as it is vulnerable to the attack. Sorry. So after easily penetrating the application, the hacker transfer all the money from the customer's public bank customer's account to his own account without leaving a trace, so that it is hard for the authority or the police to track who is behind all this. So let's see what kind of effect vulnerabilities attack that they face. So of course they were shocked by this, and the public bank Berhad create an awareness to teach their customer how to protect their privacy and bank account. Of course, if you look at their website, they put a test for the customer to recognize any kind of scam that they may face, so that they know whether they are being scammed or whether their device is being hacked or something. So of course, many public bank Berhad customer migrate to another bank that is more trusted with their security. Of course, that is for a period of time, and of course they face difficulty and rank lowest for a period of time among any other bank in Malaysia. But that doesn't stop them. They strive to become a bank with a good security. So of course, for the solution for the attack, for the first one, we can, for the developer of the application for the software, we can test the application with a vulnerability scanner tools before releasing it into the application store. This can help the developer to recognize any kind of vulnerabilities that they face, and they can avoid that, and they know what kind of attack that the hacker can do at the application. So for the second one is create an awareness and teach them basic knowledge about keeping their sensitive information private. Of course, we know the elderly nowadays don't know how to keep their sensitive information private. They don't know how to avoid this kind of thing. So we must teach them basic knowledge about the security to avoid this kind of thing to happen again. So of course, for the developer, we must update the application frequently to avoid any bug or flaw in the application from being exploited by a hacker. So by frequently updating, we can secure the application, and we can remove any bug or any flaws from the application from being exploited by the hacker. Okay, so I think that's from me. I will give the stage to the next presenter for this methodology. Thank you.
The second cybersecurity challenge faced by public bank Berhad company is a phishing attack. Phishing is a type of social engineering attack that often use disguised email or message as a weapon, which give a hacker or scammer acquire private information such as corporate data, credit card numbers, login password, personal details, and others. The aim is to persuade the receiver of the email that the message seems to be something they desire and may need. Then the receiver was tricked into clicking on a malicious link, which might lead to the exposure of the sensitive information. Furthermore, attackers have grown more skilled at disguising themselves. Sometimes, the attacker can be disguised like voice user may know and trust, such as co-workers, bank, or even the government. If users click a link, they might become the scammer's next victim. An attack can have devastating consequences, such as being affected by unauthorized purchases, data theft, or loss of money. Victims have been tricked by phishing attacks into providing bank account information, security number, and other sensitive information. Clearly, the attackers commit significantly more effort to scam victims chosen since the potential benefits are quite high. How phishing attack can happen on public bank Berhad? The first one is email phishing. Email phishing often arrive in the victim inbox with open an attachment, reply with sensitive information, submit a payment, or request to click a link. An email may be customized to appear legitimate. According to the email in the figure, the users need to update their personal information due to the new security feature update. The victims are instructed to click on the link to complete the update process and also requested to verify the information to access internet banking. When the user clicks the link, several things might happen. For instance, the user is led to a fake page of the public bank website that looks precisely like the real page and requests both username and password. Then the attacker can steal the password and sensitive information and use it to gain access to the user's asset. The second is smishing. Smishing, also known as SMS phishing, is the practice of conducting text message fraud in order to trick victims into disclosing account information. Attackers use text message to persuade potential victims to provide personal information. As you can see in the figure, the fake SMS are sent to unsuspecting victims, informing them that their bank account will be terminated. The victim needs to make verification by clicking on the malicious link and give their personal information such as username, password, and other private details to the attacker. Furthermore, SMS phishing usually includes some form of urgency, threat, or warning such as date and time to force the receiver to take an immediate response. The third one is phishing. Phishing, known as a voice phishing, is a cyber attack that involves the use of a phone to obtain personal and private information from victims. The purpose of voice phishing is to basically trick victims into providing their banking credentials. Based in the figure, usually the hacker made a call that frequently pretends as bank officers to convince the victims. Then the attacker utilized threats and persuasive language to start making users feel as though they have no option but to provide the requested information. The scammer usually didn't give victims time to think about the offer, so that victims will more likely make rash decisions to reveal their sensitive information or banking credentials. Lastly, search engine result phishing. This phishing uses tactics to make a fake website appear before a legitimate one in search result. If users don't look closer, they could end themselves on a malicious page instead of the actual one. As we can see in the figure, this phishing method targets its victim by placing advertisement in the search result depending on keywords typed into the browser. Furthermore, users are directed to a phishing website when they mistakenly click on the malicious link. Usually, cyber criminals use this method to make users confused with the actual website and fake website for revealing sensitive information and gaining access to the bank account. One of the consequences of phishing for public bank Berhad is that the bank will experience financial difficulty. Furthermore, public bank Berhad's reputation will be ruined as a result of this attack. This is because business frequently attempt to conceal the fact that they have been subjected to phishing attacks. The reputation of public bank Berhad will suffer as a result of the fact that many clients will begin to underestimate the bank's security. Therefore, a successful phishing attack could potentially sabotage hundreds of millions of dollars in market capitalization by causing damage to both client and investor confidence at the same time. Besides that, phishing will result in the loss of intellectual property belonging to public bank Berhad. Moreover, phishing attacks also lead to a reduction in the number of investors. A successful phishing attack which will lead to an infringement not only affect client trust but also investor trust. Finally, the impact of the phishing attack is that the potential to cause public bank Berhad to go into bankruptcy because it will be burdened with a massive amount of debt. The first and most important step in preventing email phishing is for public bank Berhad is to accredit every department with the installation of security software. Antivirus software, spam filters, and firewall software are all very effective in protecting against phishing attacks. In addition to reducing the likelihood of being a victim of phishing scam, maintaining software up to date with the most recent security patch and updates is recommended. Schedule regular updates and keep an eye on the overall status of all software and hardware at all times. Public bank Berhad should also have a plan in place for performing regular data backup. Regular backup help to ensure that the data is fully recoverable in the event of a disaster by scheduling them on a regular basis. Online data backup is becoming increasingly popular among organizations that want to guarantee that information is secure against theft, destruction, or the impact of a disaster. Finally, from the perspective of each employee, public bank Berhad should also educate its staff on how to prevent being a phishing victim. Explain to the employee that if they are ever in doubt about the content of a suspicious email, they should contact the IT department help desk or designated response team for assisting before responding. Then, always update and inform all employees of any change to internet security policies and procedures on a regular basis to ensure that new information is always fresh in their mind.
Alright, so next we will discuss about another attack that might be happen towards public bank, which is insider attack. So insider attack is a security threat that originates from the targeted within the targeted company or the organization. So the insider threat is entity with the access to an organization network, infrastructure, and the sensitive data or files. So the entities consist of any consultants, current or the former employees, business partners, and also even the board members of the public bank. So next, we will discuss the reason and motivation for this attack. The first is for financial gain, and then to issue the threats to the company or public bank, to obtain a strategic edge in terms of business rivalry. Next, it also possible occur because of consequence of carelessness or ignorance of the employee, such as in error in handling sensitive data, and also by the phishing attack. So the type of insider threat, there are three, which is malicious insider, negligent insider, and compromised insider. So malicious insider is within or outside of a company with the intent of stealing information or disrupting operation within an organization. They also have advantage over the sort of attacker because they are familiar with the security infrastructure of the organization. Okay, the second one is the negligent insider, where employees that do not follow proper IT policies set by organization and expose device to hazard. And finally is the compromised insider, whose device are utilized to perform the business operation has been infected or corrupted, typically by phishing, malicious download, and others. Alright, we continue our discussion in how attack happen or conducted by the insider threat towards the public bank. So, insider attack on public bank is an assumption made because according to reports, insiders are responsible for at least 60% of cyber attacks at financial institutions. So, it is difficult to monitor and identify because they use authorized access to data or corporate asset, and also they seem unharmful while accessing company network and resources. So, we will take a look at an example of attack that can be conducted by the insider threat. So, the first is they can steal the personal and other sensitive information. They can steal the money from their client. Next, they can access client ATM cards and withdrawing their money. Next, they can threat public bank cybersecurity by leaking or selling the bank security information. Alright, next, they can accidentally sending an email to the wrong person. So depend on the content the email sent, this might potentially pose a great threat. Alright, the second last, the misconfigured access credential to data or resources. So the data that require access credential typically contain sensitive and important information. And finally, the insider who were conned by a phishing attack and malicious links also can threat public bank cybersecurity. So, we continue our discussion in effect of the insider attack. So, the first is this. The public bank will gain disadvantage in competitive edge in the market. The second is the damage the public bank credibility and its reputation. The third is the destruction of public bank property, which is the malware or ransomware infecting the servers or a significant number of their computers. So the fourth is the downtime in their operational time. So they will lose million of revenue if the daily operation are disrupted, even minimal. And finally, they will be more exposed to outside attacks because internal attackers might cooperate with the external attacker to carry out their operation. Alright, so and finally, for insider threat, we will take a look and discuss the solution against it. So the first is to provide training to its employees to in focus on cybersecurity awareness and how to conduct the business securely. The second is to develop and enhance the necessary policies and procedures. The third is to make audit and tracking activities on access to an asset or resources. Is to monitor their employees' access activity history. Next, in the COVID-19 pandemic, we can improve and strengthen its remote access security by configuring secure VPN and multi-factor authentication, and also require the employee to use the company provide single working device. Next, we can monitor and identify the insider threat indicators among them, such as the employee that requests for sensitive data that are unrelated to their job responsibilities. And finally, they can establish a response strategy if an insider attack arises. It can assist the security team in dealing with the situation swiftly and efficiently.